thank you so much for being here. Uh, I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Nate gave a wonderful talk last week. Hey, Nate, how are you? See you. It was called "Your Body Is Not a Thing, and It Doesn't Belong to You." And I've watched that again during this week, and I listened to an earlier talk in which he said, "What the title of which I believe was What If There Were No Things?" And that was from almost 3 years ago. Um, and that touched off a bunch of ideas in my head of things that I wanted to be able to talk about. And then I scrapped that at about 6 o'clock this morning, and I'm going to do something much simpler. And although if there's time, I may be able to talk about some of the things that I'm really excited about that have to do with thingness and separation and the sense of self and all those things and how life actually is happening at the molecular level, not at the scale that we think of it, because we have this kind of human body scale of things. So anyway, what I want to do is ask Marla if she would put up on the screen page 34 from our chant book. And if you have a copy of the chant book where you are, that would be really good. There's two particular sections that I want to emphasize today, and that I'll ask you to discuss in small groups when after we just talk about this for a minute here, to discuss whatever comes up for you from reading these two sections. And I'll have a couple of prompts after we read them here. First, the Genjokoan is something that we have read and discussed many times. There's a whole book about it that I've been reading with Council 2 by Shohaku Okamura. And what I want to say is, first of all, that the second to last paragraph on page 34 is the famous one that gets the discussion, most of the discussion in circles that I hang out in. To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by myriad things. When actualized by myriad things, your body and mind, as well as the bodies and minds of others, drop away. No trace of realization remains, and this no trace continues endlessly. So beautiful ecstatic poetry from the 16th century Japanese master Eihei Dogen. But what I want to do is also go back 2 paragraphs above that to the second paragraph on the page, which has been even more important for me. To carry yourself forward and experience myriad things is delusion. That myriad things come forward and experience themselves is awakening. Those who have great realization of delusion are Buddhas. Those who are greatly deluded about realization are sentient beings. Further, there are those who continue realizing with beyond realization who are in delusion throughout delusion. When Buddhas are truly Buddhas, they do not necessarily notice that they are Buddhas. However, they are actualized Buddhas who go on actualizing Buddhas. So you study the Buddha way, you study yourself, you forget yourself, and to forget the self is to be actualized by myriad things. That seems pretty active. You study yourself, then you watch the process of forgetting yourself, and then you get actualized by myriad things. And to me, when I first read that, the first couple of dozen times, I thought, oh, well, it's my job in meditation to try and get there. But then I've been paying more attention to the beginning of the second paragraph on the page. To carry yourself forward and experience myriad things is delusion. That myriad things come forth and experience themselves as awakened. So what I want to propose is that we have breakout rooms of 3 people that you discuss these 2 sections. And I want to ask you to consider a couple of prompts. What are the myriad things? What scale is appropriate for considering the myriad things that you intersect with? How would you say, if somebody asked you, why carrying yourself forward to actualize yourself is delusion? And then finally, how does letting myriad things come forward and experience themselves, how would you describe connecting that with Buddha's teachings on no self and impermanence? So let me read those 3 prompts one more time. 1, what are the myriad things? 2, how would you say that going forward to actualize yourself is delusion? And 3, how does letting myriad things come forth and experience themselves, how is that connected with no self and impermanence? Okay, well, thank you. Any thoughts from the small group discussion that anyone would like to share? Nelda?
Well, firstly, lovely practice. Thank you. Lovely talk and lovely discussion with breakout rooms. And it was so wonderful to hear other people's practice and how these words resonate for them. But more than share what we shared with each other, we have a question. And it's about one of the sentences in that first paragraph that we read. And the sentence says, further, there are those who continue realizing beyond realization, who are in delusion throughout delusion. And that was very confusing, at least for me. I wonder, can you get to realization beyond realization and still be in delusion? I thought once you arrived at those different depths of realization after realization, that delusion fell away. So perhaps some input would be helpful. Thank you.
I will say that I've puzzled over that many a time, and that I'm just then drawn on to the next occurrence of the word delusion on the page, which is the one about going forward to experience a myriad things. So that somehow those are connected. How? I don't know. I haven't gotten to that part in Shohaku Okamura's book yet, but I'm looking forward to that soon. And I've actually read the book before and just forgotten pretty much all of it. It comes as a surprise each time I'm reading a new paragraph. But Dogen is very dense and poetic, and I don't know if I'll ever figure that particular phrase out. I feel very lucky that I've been drawn to study the part about the going forward to experience the myriad things and to allow the things to come forward to realize themselves. Those parts have called to me over the years, and I feel lucky that that has happened. Maybe one of these days something will call to me from the sentence you're referring to, and I'll be able to get a clearer way of exploring that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm not okay. Genevieve, may I call you, and then Kim?
Thank you, Marla. So my group, I actually we're focused on the next line after what Nelda said is, when Buddhas are truly Buddhas, they do not necessarily notice that they are Buddhas. And that line and the one, when actualized by myriad things, your body and mind, as well as the bodies and minds of others, drop away. And so we explored what it is for all existence to have some form of consciousness, not necessarily the one we refer to as human consciousness, and what it's like to have a moment when life is flowing through you and you are not. You're just not in the way. But you're not doing the things. The things are doing you, or the force of, of right action, or the force of love, or just the electric energy of the cosmos is just flowing through you. And for me, those are the most deeply, I'm not sure I have a word, but the most deeply enlivening and expanding moments. And I feel such incredible relief that I don't have to carry around these burdens of I, and these fears of like, I can't do that because I'm afraid. When there's no I, then the doing just, if it's the right action, it just flows through.
Mm.
And there's no fear because I'm not doing anything. And and Becky reminded us that, these moments when we're interacting with Dogen in the Genjokoan, where the brain is just, what? That doesn't make sense. That it's what the way she put it is, it's bumping into us so that can open in ourselves because it's already here. Yep. Thank you for this practice.
Thank you. So one more question, and then I have a couple of things that I want to add. Oh, I'm sorry, Kim, I'm confused. Thank you. Please go ahead.
I really like what Jeanette said. My first teacher used to really criticize me for being discursive, and I think that's what Dogen's talking about, not to be discursive, and also Jeanette referred to being rather than, and she didn't say doing, but our group was talking about that too, that this is, and I can't imagine anything more difficult, especially for a doer, than to be, just to be. And, he also said to me, it's going to take many lifetimes. So, a little patience with yourself.
Yeah. That's funny.
Okay. Thank you.
So a couple of things that I want to mention. In his 2022 talk, What If There Are No Things, Nate referred to something that I think is really important. It's like, what is a practical, the way I interpreted it is this. Okay, first let me say what Nate referred to. He was talking about reading Guo Gu, the Chan teacher, contemporary Chan teacher who lives in Florida and has written a couple of wonderful books, neither of which I've read. But Nate said that Guo Gu counsels contentment, that to the extent that we are wanting things, well, to the extent that we can be content with the way things are, that we're not wanting them to be different, and that is a different mode of being for most of us. So and that's a pathway to letting the myriad things actualize themselves in you. And I'd say there are other ways of saying something very much like contentment, and that would be gratitude. Just having the sense that we can be thankful for the things coming forward to meet us, and awe, as a matter of fact, is a great one. Knowing, well, in our group, Lisa was talking about how things unfold for us, and they may be epically, galactically huge, or they may be infinitesimal, and that they have the same potential to evoke awe in us, and to evoke gratitude, and to evoke a kind of contentment, like an acknowledgement that, yes, this is the way things are, and I can be content in that without having to push myself forward to make them a certain way. So I wanted to offer that. Okay, I want to read a couple of poems. This is from a book that I first heard of about a year ago. When was the great eclipse? That was in 2024, right? And in the spring, as I recall, maybe May. And during the eclipse, or just the night before the eclipse, Maria Popova of the Marginalian was in Austin, and she had this wonderful event with all sorts of wonderful presenters. And she read several poems by a physicist, a woman named Rebecca Elson, who was a scientist who tragically died young. And she was also a lovely poet. And there are several poems that I want to read. They're short. So one is called Explaining Relativity. And so this is addressing the capacity for awe. And what Rebecca Elson said is our responsibility. And this is the pathway. She says, explaining relativity, forget the clatter of ballistics, the monologue of falling stones, the sharp vectors, and the stiff numbered grids. It's so much more a thing of pliancy, persuasion, where space might cup itself around a planet, like your palm around a stone. Where you, yourself the planet, caught up in some geodesic dream, might wake to feel it unfold your weight and know there is, in fact, no falling. It is this and the existence of limits. And here's a poem called Some Thoughts About the Ocean and the Universe. If the ocean is like the universe, then waves are stars. If space is like the ocean, then matter is the waves, dictating the rise and fall of floating things. If being is like ocean, we are waves, swelling, traveling, breaking on some shore. If ocean is like universe, then waves are the dark wells of gravity where stars will grow. All waves run shorewards, but there is no center to the ocean where they all arise. Observing. At the zenith of the night, becalmed near sleep, in your dark blind of dome, you hear it move. And looking up, it's there, so close you could reach and run your hand across its belly. Feel its vestigial heat, its long, slow curves, each bright nipple where some planet sucks. Last one. It's called Antidote to Fear of Death. Sometimes, as an antidote to fear of death, I eat the stars. Those nights lying on my back, I suck them from the quenching dark till they are all inside me, pepper hot and sharp. Sometimes instead, I stir myself into the universe still young, still warm as blood. No outer space, just space. The light of all the not yet stars, drifting like a bright mist, and all of us and everything already there, but unconstrained by form. And sometimes it's enough to lie down here on earth beside our long ancestral bones, to walk across the cobble fields of our discarded skulls, each like a treasure, like a chrysalis, thinking whatever left these husks flew off on bright wings. Thank you.